You're listening to the Spill Sports Show Bracket Breakdown, getting you ready for March Madness on Selection Sunday. Let your voice be heard by tweeting at Spill Sports Show on Twitter.
We are going to invent our own show. I call it the Spill Sports Show.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes! Chalmers for the tie. Got it in 2 seconds. Unbelievable.
Here comes Jimmer. Long range. He's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger. R.J. Hunter for three. Good! Ron Hunter has fallen off his stool. 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Spill Sports Show Bracket Breakdown here on Selection Sunday, the best day of the year. This is the royalty of radio roundtables. Matt Reynoldson, David Eickholt, and Scott Ayers with you. And we are now breaking down the Midwest region, the final region of this beautiful bracket. And man, it's been a fun time, guys.
You need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here. Looking in the mirror. Do I look good? I got my extra bands on. I got my other shoes on. Be a dog. We don't need no meows. We don't need no cats.
That's the Coastal Carolina coach from a few years ago. And what a quote from him. But Coastal Carolina played Virginia in the first round last year and was up by 10 in the first half. I picked Virginia to lose to Coastal Carolina in that game. I'm sorry, that was 2 years ago when Virginia was the 1 seed there. And I picked Virginia to lose in that first round game against the 16 seed. Guys, do you think what our consensus is, an undeserving 1 seed, do you think there's a chance that they lose to the 16 seed at Hampton?
No, but it'll be close. I think Hampton will keep it within 8 points going into halftime, but Virginia's defense too much. Malcolm Brogdon is an outstanding player for Virginia, and I think they'll pull away in the second half, much like last year.
Rawr, scurvy. The Hampton Pirates are led by Reginald Johnson. That's who the Pirates are led by, 18 points per game. Unfortunately, I don't think the Pirates are going to get it done against the Cavaliers of Virginia.
You think you don't think Virginia's going to get scurvy in this match?
You think you know what Sky's going to say, then boom, left turn.
Then boom, left turn. You don't know how it happened. You don't know where you are, but you like it. Oh, Scotty. This is the royalty of radio roundtables for sure. No, I think Virginia is a team that knows how to win basketball games, and I think Hampton is a 16 seed. If it happens in this tournament, it's Hampton over Virginia, but I don't think it's happening in this tournament, no matter how much parity is abounding, I guess, in this how much parity has really taken place this year. Hampton looked good winning their conference tournament, but 16 versus 1, it just doesn't happen. 8 versus 9s do, though. Texas Tech versus Butler, what are you guys thinking?
I love this matchup. I'm going to go with Butler for 2 simple reasons. One, they swept Seton Hall, and Seton Hall is a very, very good team, and I think that momentum's going to translate, and I think they're going to be able to do something, and they put the ball in the basket. Another reason is just Butler's tournament history. I know the old coach is gone, Brad Stevens is gone, but I trust Butler to be able to get it done in this first round matchup.
How about 3 names for you for why the Butler Bulldogs are going to take down, you know who, the Texas Tech boys.
Not Raiders, they're boys?
They're boys. They're going to be boys after what Butler,
shots fired at you,
after
Texas.
What Butler does to them. Kellen Dunham, Keelan Martin, and Roosevelt Jones are going to get the job done against Texas Tech.
I love Roosevelt Jones as a player.
Yep.
He is just fantastic. He led what could have been a magical tournament run if they hadn't run into what was a great team in Notre Dame in last year's tournament. But I really, really like what Butler does every year. Kellen Dunham shoots the ball like nobody else, and Roosevelt Jones doesn't look like an athlete. Honestly, he kind of looks a little sluggish, slow at sometimes. He was injured during last year's tournament, but he makes things happen, and he hits these insane circus shots that you never see coming. It's just so fun to watch, and that's the beauty of basketball. Butler epitomizes the beauty of basketball, and they beat Texas Tech in the first round. Purdue in a really, really interesting 5-12 versus Arkansas Little Rock.
Guys, I know I picked almost every 5-12 matchup in favor of 12s. I'm going to go with Purdue here. I think Purdue's got too much size for them. I love what Arkansas Little Rock has been able to do. They're fourth in points allowed, but A.J. Hammonds and Isaac Haas, the two-headed just monster duo, size, skill, and height. I trust in them. I think Purdue takes it.
Yeah, I love what this Arkansas Little Rock team had done. 29-4 on the season. Just a team that is fundamentally sound. With that being said, Purdue's size is just going to be too much for the Trojans of Arkansas Little Rock. I like Purdue in this matchup.
One reason I like Arkansas Little Rock in this matchup is the Sun Belt is not really a cupcake conference as far as the mid-major pecking order goes. You're playing tough teams like Georgia State and Georgia Southern, Troy, UL Monroe, who they played in the final of the tournament. I think they're battle-tested, and they went 29-4. They're a real good team that plays real good defense, and how do you beat a bigger team than you? You turn it into a dogfight. And UALR, Arkansas Little Rock, that's the name of its game. They turn every game into a dogfight, third in the nation in points allowed. And yes, Purdue may be the most dangerous 5 seed out of all of them, but I'm picking Little Rock here because I liked Little Rock before they got the seed. I'm kind of sad that they got screwed into a matchup with Purdue, but I think Little Rock can get it done, and especially if they shoot the ball well, I really, really like this team.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. You know what I just realized? You realize there's 3 Big Ten teams at the 5 seed? Indiana, Maryland, and Purdue.
I think Indiana and Maryland are definitely underseeded too. I
think Maryland definitely is. Indiana, I think they should have been a 4. Maryland should have been a 3. I think they're too talented not to be at least top 3 seed.
That's just kind of what you do during the season. So I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough.
That's why we're not on the committee. Again, like I like to say.
Not yet.
Iowa State and Iona. Here's an interesting matchup. The Iona Gales out of the MEAC. They won that conference tournament. They beat a real good team in the final of that tournament. It's Monmouth. It was Monmouth.
Yep, that's why Monmouth isn't in.
They beat Monmouth in the final of that tournament. And do you think they can do the same? Do you think they can create another upset against a great Iowa State team?
Iowa State, rejoice. You aren't a 3 seed this year, and you aren't playing against UAB.
UAB was the 1 seed. They ended up losing their conference tournament.
So, Iowa State's easily going to take this. The only big problem I have with Iowa State is they're not deep. They're extremely skilled. Monte Morris is a top 5 point guard in the country.
Yep.
Georges Niang, great stretch 4. And Jameel McKay has that X factor outside of the fact that he hates to practice and just doesn't want to do it. That's why he was suspended a little bit earlier in the season. But Iowa State is a dangerous team. Matt Thomas, dangerous 6th man. I like this team's potential, and Abdul Nader has the poster ability of anyone in college basketball, as you saw my call on the Live 5 on Andersen Sports Live this past week. But I like Iowa State.
You say Jameel McKay doesn't like to practice, but honestly, who does like to practice?
I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice.
Jameel McKay is an animal for this Iowa State team, and he's the X factor. Honestly, he makes this team go. And yeah, he was suspended a couple games during the season, indefinitely for a while, but he's back. Iowa State's in full force this year, and I can't see him losing to UAB. Scotty, I said UAB. I said UAB. Iona, bringing back bad memories.
Guys, I had Iowa State going to the Final Four last season before they were upset by UAB. So I made an oath to myself and to my dogs that I would
and to your dogs
that I would not pick Iowa State again. And therefore, Iona, led by AJ English, who's averaging 22 points per game, will upset the Iowa State Cyclones.
For those of you who don't know, AJ English is one of the best players in the country, extremely underrated. He is an NBA player. I don't think you can pass up on him. He is must-watch basketball. That's why this is a must-watch game.
Boy, that would hurt Cyclones for another first-round loss there. How about Seton Hall versus Gonzaga? A little interesting 6-11 down in the bottom half.
outside of Gonzaga winning their conference tournament, I don't think Gonzaga has the resume or the skill to be able to have any sort of impact like they did last year in March. And I really am impressed with this Seton Hall team. I've been saying it all year. Absolutely so happy they're finally playing up to their potential. They're 25-8. Isaiah Whitehead, another great player in this conference. This team rebounds the ball effectively. They score, and they have some good quality wins on the season. Beat Xavier, and they beat Villanova. I got to like Seton Hall's potential in this tournament. I'm picking Seton Hall.
You know what, Gonzaga, they knew they weren't going to make the tournament if they lost in the conference tournament, and so they scrapped. They fought and they won. They beat the team who not everyone was picking them to beat in St. Mary's in that conference championship game. I really like Gonzaga. However, Seton Hall has that it factor. They've been able to beat teams like Xavier. They've been able to compete with teams like Villanova. I think Seton Hall is just a little too experienced. I think they're going to take out Gonzaga.
You take out Villanova for the Big East Championship, you are either Kemba Walker or you have a great team. And I think Seton Hall has a great team. I can see them possibly making a run in this tournament, and it starts with a win over Gonzaga. How about Utah versus a sneaky 14 from the Mountain West, who upset San Diego State in the final of that conference tournament? Utah versus Fresno State.
This was an interesting matchup. I think Utah is a really, really solid basketball team. I watched them when they took down Duke earlier in the year when Duke really had a lot of momentum going for them. Jacob Poeltl is an outstanding center. Poeltl, I don't care. Poeltl, Hurdle. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and rhyme. Jacob Poeltl is an outstanding player. Great assist numbers. Very, very smart shot selection for him. 18 points on the season. Is a very, very effective rebounder, 9 a game. Brandon Taylor's a good guard for this Utah team. I'm excited to see what they can do. I don't think they blow this. I got Utah.
You know what? Fresno State, they've played teams like Oregon, lost to them by 5. Arizona lost to them by 13. They have experience against these tougher teams in the Pac-12, and as they say, third time is the charm, and I think Utah is going to be that charm. Fresno State, they're on a run. They beat San Diego State. They're going to knock off Utah.
Jacob Poeltl, the best center in the country. Bottom line. I think Fresno State's a nice team. I think they have a nice story. It was nice for them to get here, but we haven't paid enough attention. Like, as we keep saying, we haven't paid enough attention to the Pac-12, and Utah's a great team. They got guys around Poeltl who can really make it happen. And when you have one of the best players in the country on your team, you usually don't lose first round. Dayton-Syracuse. Here's an interesting matchup, and a matchup that should not have happened. Syracuse got a 10 seed with their RPI being 71. That is the lowest RPI in the history of the NCAA tournament for an at-large bid. We all know. We all agree that Syracuse should not have gotten in, but they still do have that tough 2-3 zone, and they still have Jimmy Boeheim. Can they take out Dayton?
Syracuse fans rejoice and praise Jim Boeheim for the fact that you're in this tournament, because he is the one reason you got in this tournament alone was by his name. You don't deserve to be here. That being said, Syracuse still loses. Dayton wins.
Yeah, I like the Dayton Flyers. They could prove to be troublesome in this tournament, and I think it starts with a win over Syracuse.
Yeah, you look at this Dayton team, and they're really, really impressive. I know a lot of people will not be picking them to make a run in this tournament because they run into Michigan State in the second round, possibly Michigan State in the second round. But you got to look at this team, and you got to understand that they are veterans. Most of their contributors, I think 8 of their top 9 contributors are juniors or seniors. Those juniors or seniors went to the Elite 8 2 years ago, lost to Florida there. But this is a great team. Scoochie Smith always playing a big role for this team, and obviously the best name in the game. Dayton could make a big run in this tournament and could be trouble for Michigan State in that second game. And I think we all know that Michigan State's not going to lose out to Middle Tennessee in that first game. They are too strong. They should have gotten a 1 seed, but here they are at the bottom right corner of our bracket. Let's go to the round of 32. Virginia versus Butler.
Oh, guys, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Butler. I don't think Tony Bennett and Virginia can't get out. Malcolm Brogdon is the only reason why they escape, maybe in the round 32, but I'm going to stick with Butler right now.
I love Butler. I had a friend who plays football at the University of Butler. But besides that, I can't pick the Bulldogs over Virginia. I think Virginia, they know that there's going to be a target on their back. People don't believe they're the number one. They deserve a number one seed. I see Virginia surviving one more round and making it to the Sweet 16.
I think Virginia survives one more round, too. I don't think Butler's the same team they were last year. I think they have the talent to do it. I think they have the talent to beat Virginia, but I feel like it would just be a hater pick for me to pick over Virginia in this round of 32 matchup. I don't think Butler. I think Butler not performing down the stretch in the Big East was an indication that they aren't ready for this tournament. And frankly, they were lucky, according to some, to sneak in the tournament because they were on the bubble for a long time. And so, yes, I like Butler to give them a run in this game, but I have Virginia moving on to the Sweet 16. How about Purdue or Little Rock versus Iowa State or Iona?
I'm going to go with Iowa State over Purdue, and this is a really tough pick, but I think what separates the game is Monte Morris, again, one of the top 5 point guards in the country, and the guard play of Iowa State is going to be too much for Purdue because Iowa State's bigs can hold their own, I think, against, Haas and Hammonds, even though they have the size on them.
Haas, Hammonds, Purdue gets it done against Iona.
I think Iowa State beats Little Rock here. I think Little Rock's a good enough team to beat Purdue, but Iowa State is a team that I really liked from the beginning of the season. They're led by veterans, and Monte Morris has just played fantastic at the point guard position. They move on to the Sweet 16. Bottom half, Seton Hall or Gonzaga versus Utah or Fresno.
Man, this is tough. You know what? I'm going to go with Utah over Dayton. It's tough. Seton Hall over Utah. Rewind. I'm out of it. Seton Hall's making the Sweet 16 over Utah.
Yeah, I think Seton Hall, this is a very experienced bunch. And so is Utah. I think Utah's also battle-tested as well. But, Utah lost to Fresno State. What am I talking about? Seton Hall beating Fresno State.
I got Seton Hall beating Utah here. And like I said, if you're good enough to win the Big East tournament, if you're good enough to beat Villanova in the Big East tournament, then you're good enough to beat a team like Utah. I don't think Utah has the balance to beat a team as hot as Seton Hall is, and I think Seton Hall moves on to the Sweet 16. Dayton versus Michigan State.
Michigan State. I got Michigan State by at least 12 points in that game.
Yeah, honestly, I have Sparty being knocked out by the Dayton Flyers, and this is where my Cinderella story comes into play. Michigan State last year really didn't have the type of hype that they have this year. They had Denzel Valentine and company, and you know what? People are like, oh, just Michigan State, blah, 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 and they made it to the Final Four. This year, I think they're going to be a little overhyped, and I like the Dayton Flyers with the senior experience getting it done against Sparty.
I can't pick that. I like Dayton. I like Dayton a lot, but Dayton has faltered down the stretch of the A10, and that was very concerning to me. I liked them a lot in February, but February is a different month than March, and March is Izzo's month. Michigan State moves on to the Sweet 16. How about your Sweet 16 matchup for the top half of the bracket? What are you doing, Scotty? Just messing with me. He's just messing with me over there. Top half of the bracket, Sweet 16. Who do you got?
I got Iowa State beating Butler, and I think Iowa State goes to the Elite Eight.
Choo-choo! The Purdue Boilermakers have made an appearance to the Elite Eight over a victory against Virginia.
I think Virginia loses, but to the Iowa State Cyclones, this is the year for George Niang to carry this team on his back, and Ames is going to be nuts. I'll probably go up there for the celebration when they win it all. No, just kidding. I'm not picking them to win it all. But I am picking them to the Elite Eight, and it's gonna be fun in A-Town up there in Iowa. Bottom half of the bracket, who you got?
Michigan State. I don't care who they play in the bottom half of the bracket. Michigan State. This is Denzel Valentine's senior year. I mean, Izzo's just magic. Valentine's great. Michigan State's got.
Yeah, I go back and forth between Seton Hall and Dayton. Both are Cinderella stories. However, Dayton was in the Elite Eight just a few years ago, and I just don't see him making it back again. I see Seton Hall saying adios amigos to Dayton and kicking them from the tournament, which leads to Purdue versus Seton Hall in the Elite Eight.
Heat versus Izzo. So Heat is Seton Hall, and they're going to give Michigan State a run in this game, but I can't see anybody beating Michigan State in Chicago. Chicago, Michigan State fans are going to show up and show out for their team. A lot of Izzo fans there in Chicago, and Michigan State gets it done against an inspired Seton Hall team. Elite Eight, who goes to the Final Four from the Midwest bracket?
Michigan State is going to have a thrilling victory over the Iowa State Cyclones, and I think because of Michigan State's depth, I think they get it done, and especially since this is Steve Prohm's first year at Iowa State, I think I take the general in March and Tom Izzo over the first year Steve Prohm.
I absolutely love the Boilermaker size. With that being said, though, Seton Hall's Heat, they're heating up, they've been hot, and they're going to stay on fire because they're going to find their way into the Final Four.
More like Heaton Hall, man.
You like that? You like that?
I can't go against Michigan State though here. Iowa State's had a great year, but it runs out when they run into the buzzsaw that is Tom Izzo. Are you ready for the Spill Sports Show Bracket Breakdown's Final Four picks?
It's the Final Four picks.
Here's where we pick the winners. The big cojones. Who's going to win it all? Scotty, who's going to the national championship on the left side of your bracket?
On the left side, well, believe it or not, boys, it's a Big 12 matchup. Kansas versus Oklahoma. A game that will go into double overtime. But the Jayhawks, a team who has suffered through adversity in the tournament, will return to the tournament championship game for the first time since 2008.
I'm going to go with my left side. I got Arizona versus Oklahoma. Boomer, Sooner. Buddy Hield carries this team to the national championship.
Buddy. Kansas versus the Fightin'
By the
Joeys.
Elf, what's your favorite color?
Kansas versus the Fightin' Joeys. Gotta love that matchup.
So dumb.
St. Joe's can't take out KU though. KU is just a monster. I have KU coming out of the left side of my bracket. The right side of your bracket, Mr. David Eickholt.
Oh man, guys, this is where it gets extremely dicey for me because I got Michigan State versus North Carolina. I got North Carolina coming out of the right side. I think Marcus Page is craving this national championship. Roy Williams wants it. And Bryce Johnson, an absolutely under-the-radar, underrated player who has just been outstanding for this team. North Carolina.
My heart says Seton Hall, but my head says North Carolina. And right now, I'm going to have to go with my head and my brain, and I'm going to go with the North Carolina Tar Heels beating Seton Hall 68-54.
I want to pick Indiana in the national champ. No, I don't.
Thank you.
I have Indiana going to the Final Four, and I think they're a really, really good team. I think people are going to underrate them in this tournament because they go through such a tough road. But Michigan State is so good in March. I have a Michigan State and Kansas final. Who wins the national championship, David?
Guys, I'm going to go minute by minute here, and I feel like I'm going to flip my answer every single minute. I'm going to go Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? And Buddy Hield and Lon Kruger and the Oklahoma Sooners by a score of 69-68.
Scotty.
That is a close game, sports fans. Guys, let me tell you a little story. When I was in the 5th grade, I was a huge North Carolina Tar Heel fan. Believe it or not, me and my teacher wore matching shirts, North Carolina shirts that said, made fun of Dukes. I don't remember. It was something funny, though. And I was a huge Tar Heel fan. Loved Ty Lawson, Danny Green. Before Ty Lawson, of course, had the DUI charges. And so...
Don't drink and drive, folks.
Don't drink and drive, you jerks.
That's bad. Okay.
But seriously, I like the Tar Heels over Kansas. Tar Heels are going to win a championship, regardless if it's Roy Williams last season or not. It's going to be an inspiring victory. I'm going to probably shed a tear. Go Tar Heels.
I love this Kansas-Michigan State matchup, but I don't think Michigan State can get the best of KU 2 years in a row. My final is so chalk, which is so different compared to the rest of my bracket, but my final will be a very, very trendy final pick, and I have KU, the number 1 overall seed, winning it all. Folks, you've listened to the Spill Sports Show Bracket Breakdown. Thanks for listening. We'll be back Friday on our regularly scheduled time of the Spill Sports Show, Friday afternoon from 1 to 3 on KRNU2. For David Eickholt and Scott Ayers, I'm Matt Reynoldson. Thanks for listening, and have a great week. Go Big Red.
The Spill Sports Show with Matt Reynoldson, David Eickholt, and Scott Ayers. Never miss a show again. Check out our podcast at thespillkrnu.wordpress.com.
The 76ers could have drastically improved their organization by drafting Walter Pitchford.
Quite frankly, if he wins a Super Bowl, I'll direct it 30 for 30 on it.
I've watched this kid play multiple times on national television.
You like watching kids, David?
Dude, I love basketball. Excuse me.
The Spill Sports Show, every Friday from 1 to 3 on KRNU2.